Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we are back to URU. So, it was a kind of disappointing ending in the last recording to one of the books. We managed to find all the handprints, which then gave us this very Indian-like totem that has glowing energy on it. I guess if you stand far enough away from it, it will just kind of glow with energy. Uh, and so the little mushroom world symbol is there. So you get the 5 handprints, or the 7 handprints, and then that will finish one of the 4 worlds in the main game. And we are very close to getting all of the ones in this first book. But apparently, according to the walkthrough, to do that, what we need to do is we need to use the quick save. I think is the best way to get here to the second book, which is the age that we just finished. So you totally can go back to the ages. It would be really weird if this game didn't allow for that. And let's see, there is somewhere around here a linking stone. Let's see, why is this wanting to be so particularly wonky? I'm like, what is going on? Why is the camera acting so awkward there? Let's walk down this ladder just to reset that. So something we missed. No pun intended. I guess that probably was a joke that was made quite a lot. Is somewhere around in this general area there is one of the cloth stones that takes us back to the city, and from the city we'll be in a position. Here's that door that I guess you just walk through these doors into darkness every time. And from the city there's apparently another linking book that takes you back to where you were, which seems kind of ridiculous that all these are so interconnected. It really does make it feel like there should have been more interconnectedness in totality, or just no interconnectedness at all. And I think I'd probably argue for no interconnectedness at all, because that would help separate just the entirety of each of these ages into their own puzzles. The original Myst game definitely did that. Like, when you were in one world, you were looking for a red page and a blue page. You brought them back to the main Myst Island, and then that was that. And there were separate puzzles, of course, on the original Myst Island itself. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look at the walkthrough a little bit more carefully, obviously, I guess, and figure out exactly where this is. Let's see. I have to scroll back a little bit. There's a where is it? It's called a Bahro, Bahro stone. And as I'm scrolling up further and further through the walkthrough, I don't recognize. Okay, here it is. Inside a gloomy room under the staircase is a barrow stone. Okay. So, I think the gloomy room, as they were describing it, which is a weird descriptor, could have been described a lot better. I think URU, if you were going to make a new URU and remaster it, you probably would want every room to have a name on an overworld map in general. Yeah. If I would look in this room, I would not call it a gloomy room per se. I would call it a storage room. And perhaps there's multiple storage rooms. But here it is. This is what we missed. Although even the walkthrough told us not to go and do this. Take note that in the animation she bent down and got on one knee to click on that. It seems like an unnecessary animation. There's a lot of that going around, certainly. But why do that? Why not instead just bend over at the hip and touch it, or simply have all of the stones on the wall? I guess they don't want them on the wall because that would be irritating, and we are literally just in I think the previous age where we couldn't find them all, in kind of like a prison with place to fall down. Well, that's no good. We'll have to teleport ourselves back up, because I imagine they're not gonna let me just climb back up here. And so, yeah. It definitely feels like the first area with the keys, is a half prison, half mining facility. And people, some kind of lower class people, were captured and forced into maybe slavery. Here we've got green glowing lights and certainly things that we could look for. I don't know if we really need to be looking up or not. This feels very maze-like. There definitely are skeletons here. So, I would say for a storyline reason, I don't fully understand the idea of making the Age of the Dunny people so brutalistic, have so many kingdoms and everything. Generally speaking, I feel like you would probably have had a better experience or a better story if the Deny people were highly advanced magical society that really didn't have any problems until, say, Atrus's mother, the Destroyer as she's being referred to, popped into the scene. And they're going back and telling some history in dialogue in that one audio recording that we got that was super long when we beat the first world. So we can't look up there. When honestly, I get that the father of Atrus, or father-in-law of Atrus, was the bad guy in Riven, and the brothers were the bad guys in Myst. And then I think Myst 3 Exile does kind of a great job of not having the people, the bad guy, the antagonist of that game, really be related to the Atrus family, as it were. I don't even think they have last names. Because it was getting fairly repetitive. in all of its storytelling. And I don't feel like that was the best way to do things, is to just keep everything in the family. It gets that whole Star Wars vibe that we have now, where everybody is related to everybody, and particularly I'm referring to the current state after episode 9 of Star Wars, where seemingly every character of importance is related to another character, or at least way too many of them are related to each other. So this is gonna suck, because I bet the handprint door is in this area, which I bet means that we will have to work a little bit harder to run through this whole section twice. Because we haven't seen the handprint door in this world. And it seems weird that we wouldn't have been able to solve this whole puzzle without this. And I guess it was always supposed to be a walkway, because it wouldn't have doors and things otherwise. Here we've got a robot. It doesn't seem like the robots are going to do anything. Here we have something that we can take a picture of, even though we probably don't need to. Here we have what looks like a key device of some sort, but it doesn't look powered. Like, there's no button here or here. And I guess we want to be really careful that there's not a journey cloth or a borrow stone or something. And we have 2 ladders, which one would assume that they would come back. They would come back to the same area, but maybe not. A little silly, but I imagine if this in the multiplayer version of this game, it is probably a little difficult to have 10-20 people, even if every instance of URU really only had 10 or 20 people in a world. It would be difficult to have that many people pressing the activations to climb up a ladder or climb down a ladder. So that should have been the last journey stone. But where's the hand door? Like, we can't climb up these. So unless those doors were going to magically appear, which if they were going to magically appear, that would be incredibly unfair of the game. There could be a stone somewhere around here. Alright, but what we've got to do is we've got to go back here. Back to Real 2. And then I'll read the walkthrough again, because it's really, really not worth your time to do this. Let's see. So, back to this. Activate this. You have to be standing on the platform, I suppose. That's kind of weird. back here. And let's see. So it does say that we will have to use the linking book back to our hub world Real 2 after we get the 7th thing. So link, then link, then link. Now, there's a weird situation here in that I know in one of the DLCs you kind of just get a key or activate a switch by standing in one place, which then makes it a really weird experience. Here was also another thing that will change Real 2 in this prison cell. Next time, remember not to jump down holes before you click the journey cloth. And you get a bigger sound effect there. So that's kind of a terrible idea that there could be potentially teleporting, linking pages, linking books around the idea of having a standing in one place, and you would think that people would be just smart enough to know that that's not something that would make the game better, and they didn't do that, thank goodness, in the main game, but then they did do it in the expansion, just to, I think, to make the game even more complicated. So this new addendum adds more content, just literally cut content. If this was a modern game and Ubisoft was being particularly cheeky, I wouldn't be surprised if these little additions, like the thatched roof and the waterfall, were literally just things that would have been sold as 99-cent like in-app purchases to update your Real 2 island. And same with all the costumes. And yeah, that would really, really suck. And I guess there is a danger of that being what URU would be released as. I could definitely see, if you want a mobile game, if you want lots of people playing the same thing at the same time, it probably would be a cell phone game. And it probably would have a bunch of in-app purchases. And I don't know how you get around any of that. And I think URU Complete Chronicles probably does a decent job of showing that the single player experience here is the slightly better experience. Did we see any hand door? I don't recall seeing any hand doors in this world, and I only read the walkthrough up to the point of it saying to come to this area. See, that's a powered key distributor, and I don't know if these are supposed to be the indications of something. So yeah, I could go up a level, or I could just read the walkthrough. And I think it's just easier to read the walkthrough instead of wander around. Now, in all fairness, if I was playing this legitimately still, I would probably have to spend the next 20 minutes wandering around this world trying to find the hand door, trying to find that one area that I just haven't visited yet. I kind of think I know where it is. It's probably up on top on that other platform that we jumped to. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. Go through the door, blah, blah, blah. Walk to the elevator opposite and go to the roof, make you to the rock tower. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness, this is gonna be a nightmare. Alright. This is all jumping again. And as far as I can tell, there would have been no way to kind of compress all of your jumps into one simple location. Or one instance. So we're gonna have to jump to, I think, the rock platform, not that I mentioned, but the other one. So let's be fairly careful here not to just immediately jump off. There is this, but I did not see a hand door on that platform. I don't think that is the platform that the walkthrough wants me to jump on. I think it's the original one. Yeah, it's the one with the journey cloth. It's the one that would have had the checkpoint. So we've got to kind of wait. We can try and move ourselves up a little bit further. We can kind of enjoy this experience. So apparently what's going on here is we have to jump on that, then jump on that, and then maybe jump back on a cleft. And we'll just hope this works. And it doesn't. You clip right through the rocks. I don't know if that's because I'm pressing two buttons at the same time, or what. Let's see, is there possibly a faster way? No, because this world only has the checkpoint journey clause, which would not get me any closer, and the original area. It's fairly obvious how you would have solved this problem. Couple of things, actually. First, this elevator should be the activated elevator instead of the other one. There's no reason to make it the opposite way. But also, if you had reached the handprint door, that should act as a checkpoint. Either a separate checkpoint or the fifth handprint always. And each checkpoint should be individualized so that you could go back to them at any point. These are pretty obvious solutions to pretty obvious problems. And I just missed it. Yeah, I think the door is right there. Yeah. So if I could have just selected this checkpoint, that would have been great. But because I can't, now we have to wait. We'll look down here just to make sure that there's not anything. Yeah. This is a bad design. Either put the checkpoint in the middle of this island, or let you go to handprint checkpoints whenever you want. Many different options, many things that I feel honestly that even Cyan would have tried to do had they been given all the time in the world and all the funding and actually were capable of making such a high action game. But boy, does this not feel like Myst. This feels different. I think the better move is to probably just do this. Nope, you fall through it also. That time I just pressed forward on the keyboard and not on the mouse and keyboard, and it just lets you fall through it. Now, is this a resolution issue? Very possibly. Like, I wouldn't be surprised one bit that this game was supposed to originally run at its lowest resolution and was not optimized for any kind of wall clipping, floor clipping outside of that lowest resolution. Although I wouldn't be surprised even at the lowest resolution if you just clip through the ground a lot. And when you teleport into this world, you aren't teleported at a specific time, or if you are teleported at a specific angle and time of rotation, which it feels like there's a decent reason for that to be the case. Where when you come up this elevator, it should always give you just enough time to make that jump and run this way. But I don't really feel like that's actually the case. I think part of the problem is you probably need to be... Oh, come on! Seriously, game? I was trying to be right on the edge, thinking that maybe the edge triggers something else. Triggers the jump and that it locks into something. I'm gonna take this elevator down. Come on. Wow, that took forever to load. The reason why I want to take this elevator down is I'm hoping that this would activate this elevator so that I could go back up, and when I inevitably fail, that would work. The answer to that is no, but at least we took that elevator down once. There's a huge difference, a mile of difference between bad level design and layout and engaging mazes and puzzle design. Having us have to run around to the other side of the building to go up an elevator is not an engaging puzzle design element. Not after the first time that you've done it, for sure. I think, yeah, I'm just going for it. Seriously? really can't do anything else. I mean, you could take a break from this, certainly, and you could go and try and do the rest of the worlds, but at the end of the day, you're still going to have to make this jump once. Maybe you could make a game like this that was something like a Maniac Mansion game where you had multiple players working towards each puzzle. I don't think that really would change anything. Multiple players are playing at the same time. If they all work together to solve the game, would be dissatisfactory for each individual player who would want to see all the content. And there's nothing special about any of the characters you play as, since every character is just a customized avatar. So yeah, that idea doesn't really hold any water. It is an idea that I think you might try as a thought, but that's about it. It almost feels like you're supposed to jump to that. It almost feels like you're supposed to jump to the solid platform that's in the middle there, and it's just kind of ridiculous. And we've done it. We've definitely made that jump. But there's no way to fix it. I guess we'll try some first person jumping and see if that works. Maybe we can get a different angle on it too, or maybe we just wait and jump a little bit later. But you know what we're not doing while we're doing all of this? We're not solving puzzles. We're not thinking about puzzles while doing this physicality. I guess maybe that could have been an idea that they would have done, is that they could have tried to emphasize you need to think about the solution to this puzzle before you do anything. So why don't you take a 30-minute right brain activity instead? Am I supposed to just kind of walk off the edge? Kind of feels like I could just kind of walk off the edge. Nope, that won't work. I could try to jump past that. Let's see. Garrison jump. I'm gonna just type it in. Into Google and see if maybe I can get a video here that will show me the jump on YouTube. While this just spins around. So I'm literally just watching another YouTuber's content gameplay. And the title of this video is that GD Garrison jump. Which, let's skip to this point. I'm gonna have to see fairly quickly, or I'm gonna have to make a jump myself. Oh, the video didn't play fast enough. Alright, well, here we go. Alright, well, while we're here, I have the character standing. I see the character standing a little bit to the right. They backed up, and then they ran and got stuck in the ground, and apparently now trying to jump up. They're not falling through the ground. They're just stuck halfway through it. Interesting. They're trying to go up the ramp part, which I guess if you got close enough to click the journey cloth, then you have the checkpoint. And when they click the checkpoint, it reset their location. I don't know if that really gave me any extra useful information. Other than I am not the only person with this as an issue. Now, when we customized our character, we didn't adjust the height of the character, which would be the only thing that you could kind of blame on this, is that if there was some system in the avatar where the feet went up and down, and that was messing with the engine somehow, and that's why we were clipping through the ground. But we don't do anything to the feet other than add skins of shoes. All the characters, all the avatars, as far as I know, are the exact same height. So it's really hard to blame a little glitch on the fact that this jump isn't working. So I saw the character was standing right about here, kind of watching like this. But then when they actually went to make the jump, they actually went back to, I would say, about here, and then had a running start. So maybe that's part of it, is a bit of a running start. If this jump works and it gets me stuck in the ground, and then I can just maneuver myself from being stuck in the ground, I'll take that. I won't be happy with that, but at the very least that's something. Alright, here we go. I feel like that would have worked had I made the jump itself. And geez, how much time do you really commit to this? And boy, can I not play these tank controls. This definitely is worth mentioning, that in that third-person perspective, you are just playing tank controls. And there hasn't been a modern game that had tank controls in probably a decade and a half. Nowadays, like 2020 is when I'm playing this. It's like, yeah, that nobody's mind wraps around tank controls, not unless they are actually enthusiast of playing games that control tanks. And even then, I think most games that would control something like a tank probably still doesn't have the tank controls. Undoubtedly, you can make the argument that there was just a large amount of hubris in the third-person perspective idea with tank controls. Even in early generations of 3D games, it should have been first-person perspective. It really is just, I guess, the fact that Mario games and all of that had some, oh, finally, like Mario games and Mario 64 and stuff had a third-person perspective, and because of Mario having a third-person perspective, I think a lot of people just chose to copy him, copy Nintendo. And the reason why there was a third-person perspective in Mario 64, this isn't as bad as it may seem on first look, because now we can just checkpoint ourselves back, was because people just would not have really understood first-person perspective games, or at least that's what Nintendo thought. Particularly kids playing Mario 64 probably would have had trouble understanding first-person perspective games. Okay, so turning around 180 and jumping won't do it. We're going to have to line up our shot. It feels like it would be pretty easy to mod this also to, if you fall and use the Real 2 book, you immediately just reload to the checkpoints. Like, it would really just be a small little mod to do that. Instead of loading into the area, just fade to black and make the assumption that the character automatically is going from Real 2. I've got to do this in third person. I can't. I won't be able to get the ledge otherwise. But yeah, the extra load for the extra load is unnecessary here, and it, I guess, really is pushing the player to potentially say give up because you fell to your death and go play somewhere else, which is a bad message really to send for this game, because as a puzzle game it really should not be sending the message that you should give up because you fell to your death. It should only send the message that you should give up if, let's see if we can do this. It should only really send the message that you should give up if you are absolutely not supposed to be in a place, or absolutely not supposed to do the thing you're doing right now, or you can't solve the puzzle. I'm looking around here very carefully. It feels like there is this desire to make you try and jump all the way, but it also feels like there's a desire to have you just fall down to that rock. Let's see what the walkthrough has to say about that. Whether you're supposed to jump. Yeah, there's no checkpoint here, so you're kind of damned if you make the wrong choice. I mean, they give you a nice straight line to run in third person perspective with double jump, and I just barely missed it. Yeah. So why send the message to give up there when we got it? Why is that the message that we get? Why is this whole thing not just a cutscene in a Myst game in particular? Like, really, this should just all be a cutscene. And that would have been fairly nice. You could have established a character, a Lara Croft-esque style character that was very athletic, but then they did all the athleticism themselves and didn't force the player to do any of this. I don't know what this adds. I don't know what Cyan thought this would add. So we're gonna try and angle a little bit more in that direction. And we made it. But boy, is that not satisfactory. That does not feel like you solved a puzzle. It feels like you did a parkour map in Minecraft. And I guess we'll walk into the darkness and it'll just get darker and darker, and we'll teleport to the center area. And so we can hear these animal noises, which might be a slight hint to the...
Peace to you, mover of the least.
But
7 more journeys have moved you closer. I was seduced while in Denis.
by the way, you don't have
lasted
subtitles.
only a short time before I began to bask in what I could do, what I could write. My gift, my path, the knowledge of my father and the dreams of my mother pierced a hole in the darkness, in the weakness. I was aware of my power and I was proud. Whole worlds at my fingertips. It was the same with the Denis, the same cycle. Light opens the darkness, it takes, it uses, and it keeps. The Denis found power in these books you used to travel. They were a gift from the Maker. These ages you traveled to were their ages. Remarkable places giving life and taking life. This shadow came over them, this shadow of light. For it was in their enlightenment that they considered themselves better than the least. And we were sad for them. Can you feel the Denis there? You've touched the remnants, the remains of their pride and power. Let me tell you of King Karath. Dare I speak ill of him?
Wow.
One of the great kings.
It's like 3 paragraphs every time we get here.
A system of guilds that served as the foundation of power and corruption. The powerful need control, fortresses and garrisons to guard their power. And soon the guarding is yet another thing to be proud of. Layers within layers built to preserve their ages and their pride from the weak and least who might attack from without. And yet it is from within that most nations fall. And so the mighty garrisons of Denis now stand vacant. The writing hides what's between the lines. These journeys are to help you travel between. The Barrow will be returned. These pillars are our journey. The return of the pillars is the return of the Barrow. The bringing away and the bringing back.
So every time there's these awkward pauses, I imagine that's actually a limitation of the audio playback and the amount of RAM they just assumed that you would have. There's literally nothing to see here while they're talking. It's really, really unpolished and unfinished. There's should be more to do here, or this should just be a full cutscene. It should have subtitles. Apparently there was a maker. The maker made the ages, or the makers made the ages. I'm not sure if it was plural or not. And the Denis just found the linking books and learned their secrets and then went power mad, including the daughter of Atrus, and pretty much everybody. It seems like it seems fairly obvious that every single person, this is probably a visual glitch, goes crazy with power, which no big surprise there. And then they want you to jump. We could click here and listen to it again.
Peace to you, mover of the least.
But here's a thought.
Have moved you closer.
Nope, just an invisible wall.
While in Denis. My humble darkness lasted only a short time.
So they make it specifically so you can't have just finished one world and then jump to the other platforms, even though you probably, after doing that specific jump in particular, should easily have been able to make the jumps. And so here we have kind of like an eyeball mountain, mechanical age. Remember, this should have been the first area, and you really should have gotten that one before anything else. And so then that leaves us to this third book. And I think we have enough time to do a little bit of this. Let's see. It's still very not satisfactory to just get that audio and be told all of that. It still feels like each piece of that audio should potentially unlock doing a checkpoint cloth thing. Like that would make a lot more sense. To as you're playing the game, run into things like that. And yeah, we still have these little markers that don't mean anything. Or at least they don't mean anything now. And so this is the giant tree cave area with the linking book. Notice there was a broken stairs there that you could easily have not paid attention to and fallen to your death. So yeah, this takes you to the temple, for lack of a better term. And at the temple, we had taken pictures a long time ago. Long time ago. In fact, just look at all the pictures we've taken and how many of these really played any role at all. Very little. In fact, looking at all these pictures, none of these look like solutions to anything else we've done yet either. Yeah. Some of these might be solutions to other things, but they might not. So you could take these pictures with your key, but it's so zoomed out that you still can't really read it. So yeah, system doesn't really work. At least it doesn't work for a person who's playing on a TV screen. And most games do need to be playable, in my opinion at least, on a reasonable TV screen about 10 feet away, a 50-60 inch TV screen, so that the couch gameplay option is actually an option. So looking at the walkthrough, it seems to me like that is the solution. But absolutely no feedback to that. Just none. There's no light, nothing gets brighter, there's no click, there's no sound effect, there's no music cue, nothing at all that even starts to hint that you've done it right. And perhaps for the other couple of combination locks, it makes sense to not have those music cues. But right now, oh, I found one. It doesn't. It totally does not make sense. We'll have to be more careful about finding journey cloth maps. Otherwise I may solve the puzzles around here and still not have clicked everything that could be clicked. This whole world just seemed so empty. And still no flashlight. That would definitely be something I would have modded in. Even if it was a flashlight that had just terrible batteries, your standard horror video game flashlight, I would take that. Just being able to flash it in certain places and change the lighting. I imagine there's basically no lighting engine in this game. Everything is just static and stationary. So things are just bright because they were pre-programmed to be bright, or dark because they were pre-programmed to be dark. And I don't think a player standing in front of a light or a door moving or anything like that would just automatically change the lighting situation. So you can't jump in the water, but there is another one of these over here. I guess I really didn't pay enough attention. It seems so weird to be stopped. And if you were going to be stopped, it feels like the character that you're playing as should just have a no go, no way type response. Okay. So next on the walkthrough, it wants me to do sort of what I've got. Notice how it jumps when you click this. Interesting. Either I'm looking at the wrong one, or I'm doing something wrong. Because the image I'm seeing kind of doesn't line up. But it kind of can't be any other way. So I guess this is right. Like, but oddly the image, like this bronze part is in the image I'm seeing is in front of another part. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It definitely feels dumb, however. Like, it really doesn't feel like this is the way a puzzle should be solved. That you have to run to 3 different locations, put in 3 different codes, get absolutely no feedback. It would be the equivalent of having a lockpicking mini game that gave you no feedback. It just doesn't really make sense. And it definitely doesn't improve the experience by any means, because yeah, this is just going to be frustrating for people. Real frustrating for people that didn't find the temple, real frustrating for people that did find the temple and just couldn't read it. Alright, so so there might be some differences here, and that might be the issue. I'm just gonna see if I can open this image. It's such a small image. Let's see. Yeah. It's such a small image, and it really doesn't even show things. There's walkthroughs from like 3 years ago, and that's part of the problem, definitely. Is that so this one here, this orange is in the wrong place, and I think this orange shifts at one of the other locations, because definitely none of these buttons are shifting it. So we're gonna have to, I think, run back to, I think, this one. The idea that these are all combination locks and interact with each other makes no sense. Feels like there should be a prism up here that would be reflecting lights, and that there would be like a telescope looking at the top of that part. It does feel like we will get a cutscene. Theoretically, that might have been the solution. Maybe. But I don't know. I don't know if this doesn't twist the image somewhat when we look over here. I mean, that didn't show a door opening cutscene, and it doesn't look like the door is open. Alright, so again, I'll look at this image. This looks perfect. Like, the image I see, unless the game is just totally BSing you, looks perfect. So now I'm going to open the next image and the previous image in it, and go and see that there's something slightly wrong with that. If we're really, really lucky, we will get this door open, and then that'll be the end of this recording. That's about all that we've got time left to do. And yeah, again, the idea of having a companion AI character, somebody that would be helpful and tell you what to do and give you a hint. Yeah, I don't think the mistake is here. Would be really helpful right now. It's the same role in the same position that the daughter of Atrus, whose name I will never remember, is it Yeesha or something. They got too many syllables, I suppose, the names. And Atrus really is the only named character that I really remember the name of. Where if you compare that to like The Witcher 3, Geralt of Rivia, his name is mentioned in the games often enough that you should know that, and then Yennefer is known fairly often, and then I probably would recognize a couple of other names of characters in the Witcher series, which yeah, I just don't think we get that much. We don't get enough dialogue. We don't get the name mentioned enough for it to work. Okay. That seems to have been the mistake. Yeah. But again, no click, no feedback. So, quite the long journey to run from all the way here. Particularly when you don't really have a run button. All you do is you have the WASD and the mouse keys. I kind of wonder, since you get double the speed by doing it this way, I wonder if you plugged in two keyboards and had two people pushing W at the same time, if it wouldn't also increase the speed. Literally no cutscene. No feedback at all. It just opens. And perhaps you needed a giant rotation sound effect to show that this room was rotating. And that does also open the idea that there might have been a journey cloth on one rotation of this. You just won't be able to really ever know that, I imagine. Yep. Yeah, there is a journey cloth there. And so now that door is locked, and there's no unlocking it, I suppose, without going back to the original place. And what do we see over here? But a giant stone spiral staircase leading us downward to our next big adventure. Yeah, this game is really, really bad about paying off when you solve a puzzle. It's no wonder that it got such bad reception. The puzzles aren't too off or too different from what you would have gotten from Mystery Exiles or Riven, but they make you do a lot more 3D movement, which then just increases the amount of emotional energy that a game like this would drain out of you, and just make you exhausted after you did fairly little. It's the difference between watching a 3-hour director's cut of a movie. I would say that's probably what URU is, a 3-hour director's cut, or perhaps even it's closer to a 3-hour unedited cut of a movie compared to watching a good 90 minutes of a movie where all of the fluff has been removed. There's just a ton of fluff here, a ton of stuff that is not adding anything, really. It's not even really building up the environment because there's no people, and the background music is pretty generic, and there's no sound effects. So it's just big, empty worlds that needed a lot more in them, or they just didn't need to exist. And it seems fairly obvious that Cyan kind of was forced into knowing that lesson when they made Myst, because that game obviously couldn't be that big. And as soon as they wanted to do it online and have servers that could potentially have infinite amount of storage and space, they tried to just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that probably was a mistake that a lot of game developers tried to make during that time, and it never really has worked. Most recently, a game like No Man's Sky is a great example of that, where people create world generation algorithms and entire universes of planets that all are just kind of random and kind of don't have a point, and you can find your own fun in No Man's Sky, particularly after a year plus of them adding more content and fixing it. But the actual core of the game in No Man's Sky is very basic, very simple, and not worth playing through more than once. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.